Okay. Mr. Clerk, good morning. Are we able to start?
Yes, a moment, if you'll give me just a second.
Thank you for being patient, by the way. Good morning, everybody. We have some technical difficulties because the internet, etc. But good people like our clerk, Mr. Mason, are working diligently to resolve these issues. Before we start officially, it is always a good thing to see people on this specific Saturday morning here testifying. A lot is going on, as everybody knows. These are tremendously important days. Millions of Americans will be demonstrating today, here in Arlington as well, and across the region. And I know that some of you may be directly or indirectly via your families or so impacted by the government shutdown. You should know that we see you, we stand with you, we understand what this means. Whether you work for the federal government directly or you work for a contractor company or are affected by the shutdown in any shape or form, usually this means that Arlington is always very deeply impacted by these events. So we take them extremely seriously, and we try to be as close as possible to our residents and in solidarity with them. So are we ready to start our meeting?
We are now. I appreciate your patience.
Okay. So, good morning again. It's Saturday, October 18th. The county board, the Arlington County Board, is convening in its regular meeting. Welcome. I'm your chair this year, Takis Karantonis, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Vice Chair Matt Ferranti, and members Susan Cunningham, Maureen Coffey, and Julius D.J.D. Spain Sr. We are also today joined by a very special guest. As you probably know, Arlington, Virginia has a sister city, has four sister cities indeed, but one is Aachen in the region of North Rhine-Westphalia in Germany. These days, part of the sister city relationship is an intensive exchange of elementary, middle school, and high school students every year. So right now, this week, a lot of more than 50 families, I think, from Aachen, Germany, visited here. They are concluding their visit these days. And previous to that, the same number of Arlington families have visited Aachen. So one of the parents of one of the kids is the newly elected mayor of our sister city, Aachen, Dr. Michael Simons, who we have over there, but I want to ask him to come over here. So I will give him my seat for a moment. He's a real mayor. Each one is a 20%er. So I want him to, he asked me to say a few things about, a few words in greeting. And he has a microphone here.
No, but you need a microphone.
I will need a microphone. So I ask Dr. Simons to say a few things in greeting, so that, and to make a public appearance here in Aachen, right from the dais of this county board.
Thank you, Takis. Thank you for your warm welcome. Thank you, everybody, for hosting us these days, and thank you for such a great and deep friendship that we established in the last, I think, 30 years. 31 years. So it's 30 years next year, the elementary exchange jubilee. So we'll celebrate that indeed. I wanted to say thank you to everybody here in the county board and also in the public to the people of Arlington. Because for us in Aachen, it's very, very important to have friendships like these, and especially a friendship to you here in the United States. Why? Because it's good to have people knowing each other, people knowing each other's feelings, what they are dealing with the whole day. And while the governments are speaking about taxes and tariffs, we are speaking about hearts and hopes, about the hearts of the people that we can win with these exchanges, how we can know about the feelings of each other. This is what makes these exchanges so special, and this is why I'm so thankful that we have, during all the years, people here in Arlington who supported the exchange, because you can have an exchange like a cold exchange, you know, between the county board and the Lord Mayor, like me. But it's a completely different thing if you have an exchange which is run by the people, when you have volunteers who are doing all the work, who are enabling those meetings and keeping the fire alive, you know. Thank you to everybody for this great support you are doing to our people. Thank you.
So, by the way, a plug for the many volunteers and Arlington residents, the really many volunteers and Arlington residents who keep these partnerships alive. This is the Arlington Sister City Association, ASCA. If you Google it, you will find it. They are always welcoming fresh blood and new volunteers to help them build up international relations with our 4 sister cities, one of which is Aachen. And as you have heard, this is a 31-year-old partnership. So, general announcements and instructions for public comment today. For in-person speakers, the podium height, you know, some of you know already the drill. The podium height can be adjusted by using the up and down arrows on the right. If you are submitting documents as part of your testimony, please hand them to the clerk, Mr. Kushner, along with your name and contact information. For remote speakers, please keep your microphones muted and your cameras off until you're called on to speak. We have a Spanish language interpreter who is joining us virtually today for the public comment portion of the meeting. I don't know if the interpreter can identify himself or herself.
They're actively
Okay, they're actively there.
But they are on the line.
Fine. So if you require assistance with interpretation, so please let Mr. Kushner know. Occasionally, we may stand up to stretch our legs. However, there are speakers and monitors in the back so that we can continue to see and hear this meeting. So we will begin now with our public comment. I will just provide a short reminder of the rules that we have. The time is reserved for topics that are not related to recent or upcoming public hearings, advertised public hearings. To help ensure fairness and efficiency, we have a 1 speaker per topic rule. If you are here with a coordinated group, we ask you to please designate 1 representative to speak on that topic. That representative can note that there are others present and share your views. Our goal is to hear a broad range of perspectives while keeping our regular meeting on schedule. If you would like to share more detailed input or engage in a deeper discussion with us, we encourage you to attend an open door Monday or email us at countyboard at arlingtonva.us. We welcome to the support for speakers, but ask if you can to use the American Sign Language sign of approval instead of clapping. The clerk will be calling up 2 speakers at a time so that the next person speaking will be able to prepare herself or himself. So, Mr. Clerk, please, can we start? We can call the first 2 speakers.
Yes, of course. Our first speaker is Otto Washington, followed by Asim.
Good morning, Mr. Washington.
Do I hit the button or?
Yes,
just
please
start talking.
switch on. Is your
It should
Your
be on. If you see a
microphone?
red ring at the base of the microphone, it is hot, and you can go ahead and start talking.
Okay.
I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, members of the council. My name is Otto Washington. I'm here today to speak on behalf of those who cannot speak for themselves, the men and women who depend on our shelters for safety, dignity, and a chance to rebuild their lives. I want to address the serious concerns about how clients are treated and the lack of training among some staff members at shelters that partner with Path Forward. While I am not here to hold Path Forward as an organization responsible, I do believe that actions of individual staff members deserve attention. No single staff member should have the authority to dismiss a client from a shelter without proper review or oversight. This kind of decision affects persons' safety, health, and stability, and should never be never made lightly or personally. I also want to raise concerns about donations meant for clients being taken or misused by staff and the reports of drug use, theft, inappropriate relationships between staff and clients. These issues undermine public trust and harm and the very people our community are trying to protect. In my own experience, I was dismissed from the shelter at RPC simply because I asked for help. The kind of help the overseer of the shelter is supposed to provide. That experience showed me how broken the system can be when there's no accountability. My ask to the council is simple but urgent. Investigate these concerns within the shelter system. Ensure that DHS is fully aware and involved with addressing them. Implement a better oversight and training for shelter staff to prevent mistreatment and protect clients' rights. Thank you for listening and for your commitment to making Arlington shelters safe and fair for everyone who depends on them.
Thank you, Mr. Washington.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Asim, followed by Ms. Kishori Mahulikar.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. And I have slides again, so I'll wait. All right, cool. So I want to start with a preface to get this on the record that at the July board meeting, Takis let 5 white people speak about ICE in Arlington with absolutely no pushback. Now, that certainly wasn't the case in the spring when we wanted to get rid of Section 7 trust policy, almost the same subject. It's one speaker per topic for some, free speech for others, seemingly along racial lines. I don't know, it's pretty interesting, isn't it? It's also interesting that it took the only board member of color to actually acknowledge, respond, and open a line of communication in good faith. Thank you. As it was acknowledged at the September board meeting, we've had discussions with all of you over the past few months. Some of these meetings are very productive, engaging conversations, and we'd like to continue those conversations and nurture those relationships. Next slide, please. However, some of you made it clear that despite acknowledging Arlington's ties to things like ongoing apartheid and genocide, we must still prioritize the economic development these ties afford to our area. It doesn't make sense to me. Even with all the war and deportation profiteers, in Arlington today, rents and often vacancies are still high. It's hypocritical to say you oppose Trump and Republicans, but then, with the power you happily facilitate the business of their fascist agenda. Now, we've put forth the path to align Arlington with the morals, ethics, and values of our communities, things you say you care about. So this is a chance to reconcile the inconsistency in your politics. Some of you wavered, saying you need to learn more. I'll take a page out of your playbook. Please, tell us what are concrete things you want to learn about. We're trying to plan a teach-in, and your feedback and participation would be invaluable. So, hoping to continue the conversation. Thank you for your time. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. The next speaker, please.
Yes, our next speaker is Ms. Kishori Mahulikar, followed by Brendan Martin.
Hi, I have slides.
Good morning, Ms. Mahulka.
Hi.
You'll have to give me a moment. I do not know that I have
Yeah,
those
take your time. I know internet is a bit spotty today.
I unfortunately don't seem to have them immediately available. Would you be willing to perhaps come back, give me a moment to locate these and while we move on to the next speaker?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Our next speaker is Mr. Brendan Martin. We will come back to Kishore Mahulikar.
Hi, do I hit the button or hit the button?
Nope, you should go ahead and start.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, August.
You can lift it up on the right side.
Oh, I see.
Exactly.
Good morning, August Assembly. My name is Brendan Martin. I'm here on my own behalf, but I'm with a demand that I nonetheless am confident is supported by most Arlingtonians. Namely, I'd like the board to ensure that our Arlington police do not collaborate or even cooperate in any way with ICE or other DHS agents in abducting our immigrant neighbors. As a corollary of that, I'd ask you to enact and enforce a law preventing any officer of the law from concealing his identity with masks, for example. We've seen immigrants are being targeted in the country. Most of these immigrants are not criminals. Many or most of them are here legally. And almost 200 American citizens have been abducted in these military-style raids. But I'd like to say, on behalf of other Arlingtonians, this is not just about immigrants. This is also about the rest of us, non-immigrants, including white non-immigrants, because most of this targeting is based on color, as we've seen by the fact that American citizens have been abducted. We've all seen documentary evidence of ICE brutality in DC, Chicago, Los Angeles, Portland, and that may be coming here in a military-style invasion. Please make sure the police whose salaries we pay serve and protect us, not the regime across the river. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
I wanted to just say I'll be risking my health, my safety, my freedom in protesting in solidarity with these people if we do see such an ICE presence. And so I'm asking for protection from the police for the rest of us as well. We may be facing, violent arrest, tear gas.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Your time is elapsed.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. The next speaker.
We are still working on the slides, but our next speaker is Steph Webster, followed by David Bernstein.
Good morning.
Good morning. I've also got some slides. So, just wait.
Pulling them up, just a moment.
All right. I am here today because I'm concerned about the role of big tech and what it plays in Arlington, and I ask all of you to consider the county's moral responsibility when it comes to inviting, hosting, or supporting AI and tech firms. Next slide. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. I understand that privately, some members may also feel uneasy about AI and the power that large tech firms wield, but your actions are consequential, not your private concerns. Arlington is actively seeking and prioritizing more AI companies to come here. The county even hosted the AI Unlocked Festival a couple of weeks ago. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay. Big tech power systems of surveillance, extractive governance, and state violence. The choices companies make about who they serve and how their infrastructure is used have real consequences for marginalized and oppressed communities, from our neighborhoods to Gaza. Amazon Web Services hosts databases that allow DHS and ICE to track and apprehend immigrants. Amazon also provides Israel's Military Intelligence Directorate a server farm, allowing for essentially endless storage for intelligence on almost everyone in Gaza. Amazon also recently announced layoffs as a result of their shift to using more AI. AI isn't helping workers, it's helping those at the top. Can you go to the next slide, please? Microsoft enabled the Israeli military surveillance systems and war operations via its Azure platform. However, Microsoft chose to disable specific services in response to pressure, that is, journalistic investigation and internal dissent. And this shows that tech firms are not immune to ethical demands. If Arlington claims to value equity, justice, human rights, and transparent accountability, then we must apply those values to the tech firms we host or court.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your time's elapsed. Our next speaker, is...
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not here on behalf of any formal group, but on behalf of friends, families, and acquaintances who were disturbed by an image that we saw on a flyer from Arlington for Palestine. Some of my friends and acquaintances are here. Some were actually afraid to show up here for reasons I'll get to. The board should be aware that this group, Arlington for Palestine, is not anti-war, it's not pro-ceasefire. It may purport to be pro-Palestinian or even merely anti-Israel or anti-Zionist, but in fact it supports Hamas, it supports terrorism, it supports unspeakable violence against civilians, and it promotes violence against American Jews, which is, I think, the relevance to the Arlington County Board since you're not a foreign policy organization. How do I know this? Because the top of the flyer that they sent around has an inverted red triangle, a symbol that Hamas uses to mark Israeli targets, including some houses on kibbutzim that were attacked on October 7, 2023. I hope I don't have to remind everyone that on October 7, Hamas murdered 1,200 people and tortured, raped, wounded, and kidnapped hundreds more, often in the most brutal, unspeakable ways imaginable. I recommend that you don't watch the footage that's available because you won't be able to sleep for weeks afterwards. Children in front of their parents, parents in front of their children, burning whole families to death in their safe rooms while hiding from Hamas. Today, supporters of Hamas throughout the West use the triangle to identify, harass, and target Israelis and Jews, glorify Hamas's terror, and call for increased violence against the Jewish people. This is not merely hypothetical. My niece's one of her good friends, Sarah Milgram, was murdered outside a Jewish event in DC just a few months ago by a fanatic shouting "Free Palestine," and of course he murdered her fiance as well. This is why my synagogue and my kids' school have to have armed security, and why my friends who I mentioned were afraid to come here today. This is what these folks support and encourage, and I want to make sure the board public is aware. I'm Yisrael Chai.
Thank you, Mr. Bernstein. The next, I believe it's a virtual one.
We have located the slide, so at this point I would be willing to come back to Ms.
Mahulkar, so apologies for mispronouncing your last name.
Okay, everyone does it.
Apologies in general if I'm continuing mispronouncing your last name.
People pronouncing my last name right is such a rarity in my life, so it's okay.
We have that in common.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm here to talk about Arlington Apartheid Divest, which is a campaign to structurally change the model of economic development here in Arlington. For decades, Arlington economic development has prioritized the business of death, destruction, and surveillance, bringing economic development that displaces Arlingtonians and drives up rent, tying us to America's violence abroad. As a start, this campaign is focused on ending Arlington's most immediate contributions to genocide and apartheid, to AED's collaborations with Israeli weapons companies and other complicit entities. This campaign is an opportunity to bring Arlington into alignment with its professed morals, ethics, and values. Next slide. To begin, our first demand is for an adoption of a public ethics policy. We demand this policy explicitly end any and all Arlington collaboration with and support for entities complicit in apartheid, genocide, systemic racism, and human rights abuses. This includes partnerships with the Virginia Israel Advisory Board. Next slide. Our second demand is a development model for Arlington that fosters sustainability, worker empowerment, and community well-being to replace the current model that pursues defense, surveillance, and aerospace companies whose businesses cause destruction and repression. Next slide.
Ms. Mahulkar, you're pushing a little bit the one topic per speaker.
Okay, I'm almost done. Our last demand is a transparent process for labor, community groups, and residents to contribute to AED decision-making. We must be partners in our own economic development. It's time for Arlington to reckon with its unique place in the world. We are not satisfied with economic developments that facilitates Trump's fascist agenda without offering public space to make community voices heard on those choices. Pretty words and platitudes are not enough anymore. Adopt these principles and hold AED accountable once and for all. Next slide. And to the public here today, we encourage you to join us. Read and sign our petition. Help us divest from apartheid and invest in Arlington so we can end complicity and fund our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mahulkar. I have to tell you, I hate to do that, but it was the same topic, right? Well, it was slightly a variation of the same topic, like, this is a conversation that we need to have. I think this board needs to discuss that in a different venue at a different time. But I want to just reiterate why we have the one speaker per topic. I'm not telling you that this is the perfect arrangement, but it is there to hear as many people as possible in the setting of public comment before a board meeting. This is not a type of a First Amendment town hall. If it was, then we wouldn't discuss that. But it is not. Anyway, sir, I just made this comment because I wanted to make sure that everybody understands what the rules are. So, thank you. The next, please, Ms. Dobbs.
Thank you. Yes, our next speaker is Laura Dobbs, followed by Ann Felker.
Right.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Laura Dobbs, and I'm with Housing Opportunities Made Equal of Virginia. I'm here to speak about our deep concern of the evidence of ongoing housing discrimination in Arlington County. Testing done in 2024 that was commissioned by the county has revealed persistent discrimination, particularly discrimination based on source of funds, familial status, national origin, and disability. And testing by the Human Rights Initiative in 2025 mirrors those findings. And this testing data reflects what the county has heard in focus groups with voucher holders. Renters feel stigmatized, mistreated, and powerless. Many don't know their rights, and even if they do, they're afraid to report violations due to fear of retaliation. Clearly, the status quo is unacceptable. I'd like to thank the county for the progress it's made, including adopting the Regional Fair Housing Plan, adding source of funds protections to the county's Human Rights Ordinance, and including funding for fair housing in its 2026 budget. But more is needed, especially as the federal government abdicates its duty to enforce civil rights and reverses course on its commitment to equal access to housing. So I urge the county to first amend the Human Rights Ordinance to align with federal and Virginia Fair Housing laws. So my organization and the Arlington branch of the NAACP sent a letter back in December 2024 outlining specific legal changes that are needed. And those changes are important because they'll make the Office of Human Rights better equipped to meet the goals laid out in the county's Fair Housing Plan and effectively meet the fair housing needs of the community. And second, I ask that the county fully prioritize fair housing enforcement education within the Office of Human Rights. As the federal government abandons fair housing enforcement, it's more important ever that local jurisdictions like Arlington lead. I urge you to act decisively and protect residents' rights and ensure equal access to housing for all. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Dobbs. The next speaker, please.
Thank you. And with a reminder to all of our one speaker per topic rule, the next speaker is, Ann Felker, followed by the Honorable Stephen Grootman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Ann Felker, resident of Ashton Heights for 78 of my 82 years. I bring you a petition signed by 609 Ashton Heights and Lion Park neighbors, as well as people who love to walk our leafy streets. The first ask of the petition is reduce the allowed lot coverage in Ashton Heights and throughout the county, followed by a call to help preserve our canopy trees while planting the next generation's trees. You can see our whimsical mission poster behind me. In December of 2023, the Forestry and Natural Resources Plan adopted by the board as one element of the county's comprehensive plan included look at lot coverage. In the November 2024 County Board work session, it was noted that larger houses, not other impervious surfaces, are driving the big increase in impervious areas in Arlington. Based on these two reports, it seemed that the follow-on low-density residential study would indeed look at lot coverage, but in February 2025, the county board removed that topic from consideration. We all know the litany of tree contributions to the quality of life. Today's petition is signed by people who are very concerned that with the most important variable off the table, our beloved and essential tree canopy will fail before the next generations get to build nests in it, read books under it, and breathe fresh air with it. We urge you to revise that decision, touch the future, and return lot coverage as part of the study. Whatever you allow to be built on residential property should preserve legacy trees and leave room for even more canopy trees for the sake of everyone and everything living or even walking through our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Felker. The next speaker, please.
Yes, our next speaker, and again with respect to our one speaker per topic rule, is the Honorable Stephen Grootman, followed by Mr. David Gerg.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I didn't know you could have slides. It's pretty cool, guys. Good job. It's very sad that I felt the need to be here today. I honestly had a hard time getting out of bed. I'd rather be asleep. But I'm a proud Jewish American, and after seeing the many posts about the call for BDS in my area, and after dealing with anti-Semitism myself, which will be the primary topic of this speech, I had to speak up. I've lived in the DMV my entire life. I never truly understand the fear of widespread anti-Semitism that prior generations of Jews lived through firsthand until October 7th, a day that illuminated the anti-Semitism lurking among many. I've had an Israeli flag on our door since October 7th and proudly refuse to take it down until all the hostages are returned, including the dead bodies. This hits very close to home. My wife has family in Israel. I have family in Israel. We have family fighting in the IDF, and most importantly, we're proud Jews, and this was an attack on all of us. And for the past 2 years, hatred of Israel and Jews around the world has exploded, both figuratively and unfortunately literally. Jew hatred spewed here hits home for every Jew, and without being condemned, and not silenced, but condemned, it will continue to metastasize until you truly have an awful scandal at your doorstep, God forbid. We've had multiple children scream "Free Palestine" while we're watering our grass or walking our dog. My wife has been denied an Uber when they asked, "Are you a Zionist?" And she said yes, and they said you couldn't get in. While this isn't illegal, it is discriminatory practice, and we filed a complaint. I was called a Nazi at the dog park. There was a keffiyeh left on our front lawn. We felt that it would be wrong to burn it, so we instead used it to clean our dog's puke. For those who don't know, a sukkah is like a temporary structure for the for the holiday of Sukkot, and we heard a few kids every day for 3 or 4 days yelling "Free Palestine" at us, and then they trespassed and left posters on our property. Anti-Semitism is a serious problem, and it needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Mr. Grootman. The next speaker, Mr. Gerg. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, board members. I wish it weren't so, but Arlington has chosen to self-inflict zoning approval chaos on itself. Recently, 38 previously voided EHO permits magically flipped from voided to approved, and the county is apparently accepting new EHO applications. But the EHO zoning case, Nordgren v. County Board, sits actively appealed to the Supreme Court of Virginia. The appeals court decision in September remanded to the trial court to take on arguments from a further party. It did not order the county to issue or accept EHO permits again. Only you did. It will take months, probably more, before a Supreme Court ruling, and even longer until final disposition of the case. And if the final ruling changes, modifies, or invalidates any part of the EHO, then the county and unsuspecting homebuyers and residents all take on years of costly further litigation and legal battles. Chaos. These recently approved permits lack logical approval dates, and the public does not have reasonable notice of approval, creating issues as to when the time clock for a potential BZA appeal runs. Chaos. Anyone that purchases an EHO property in the meantime will be without notice that at any moment the property can be in violation as a result of court ruling. Chaos. Will Arlington force the property to become compliant, be torn down? Chaos. Or perhaps you will just ignore it and bless violators of the law? Chaos. All avoidable chaos. The small number of approved limbo EHO properties thus far have cost the county and others much in litigation and angst recently. Why would the county encourage even greater chaos? If the county continues the prudent pause of EHO approvals due to litigation, it eliminates its risk of immense follow-on litigation costs. It eliminates unsuspecting home buyers being duped. It eliminates chaos. There is little to gain by rushing to resume an EHO process before a final court disposition. But by blazing forward, the county invites multipliers of harm,
Mr. Gray,
liability,
can you
abuses
please
of the
resume?
process, and chaos.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
The next one.
Yes, our next speaker is Habib Kassim, followed by Ms. Audrey Clement.
Good morning, Ms. Kassim.
Good morning. My name is Hiba Qasim, and over 77 years ago, the Nakba took place when more than 700,000 Palestinians, including my own family, were violently displaced from their homes and land. For the past 2 years, the world has witnessed the continuation
Can I
of the
interrupt you?
Nakba.
The microphone is too far away. Yes.
Is that better?
Yes, it is.
Okay. For the past 2 years, the world has witnessed the continuation of the Nakba, the genocide unfolding in Gaza. Before the naysayers and deniers in the room roll their eyes, allow me to name the many human rights organizations and international bodies that have concluded Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Beit Salem, Physicians for Human Rights in Israel, the International Association of Genocide Scholars, the United Nations Independent International Commission of Inquiry, the International Court of Justice, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and the African Union. As our government, including the body representing Arlington County here, continues to fund Israel and supply the weapons used to commit these atrocities, more than 67,000 Palestinians have been killed, with tens of thousands more unaccounted for, and over 170,000 injured. Most of Gaza's homes, schools, hospitals, and infrastructure have been destroyed. Earlier this week, a ceasefire went into effect, negotiated by President Trump. And while Israel has already violated it, and likely will again, it is shameful that Trump was able to deliver a ceasefire while Democrats like yourselves pretend ignorance and continue to proudly bankroll Israel with weapons and military support. And that brings me to the connection here. Local, state, and national governments are complicit in funding this genocide. Some of you have claimed ignorance. That's white privilege and a colonizer mindset. Others only recognized Palestine and called it genocide after European nations did. Meanwhile, we were told we must continue funding genocide so you can advocate for higher teachers' wages, which still hasn't happened. We've also learned that while, on average, Arlingtonians are forced to give over $18 million to Israel's weapon industry, the growing military presence and defense contractor influence here in Arlington have harmed our local economy and allowed immoral corporations to profit from genocide, divesting from Israel and reinvesting in our community, in families, educators, and ethical local businesses.
Thank you, Ms. Kassim.
Would make a real difference here at home and align Arlington with justice and human rights.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Kassim.
Thank you, Ms. Kassim.
Our next speaker is Audrey Clement, followed by Ken Reed.
Dr. Clement, good morning.
Welcome, members of the board, the county manager. I'm Audrey Clement, independent candidate for county board. At the September 13th county board meeting, Takis Karantonis doubled down on his accusation that I misrepresented the release of Guatemalan rapist David Cabrera from Arlington County Jail to a courthouse street. According to Takis, Cabrera was not released by the county sheriff's office, as I had claimed, but rather by the court. This argument takes hair splitting to a new level. Regardless who issued the order, it's obvious that a prisoner can only be released from the facility where he is incarcerated, and the sheriff incarcerates the prisoners. As of July 11, 2025, the day he was released, the sheriff, not the court, had custody of Cabrera. Takis also took issue with my linking Cabrera's release with County Board's revocation of Section 7 of its trust policy in May 2025, saying, quote, "The sheriff's office is not covered by Arlington's trust policy." Yet if the county were still cooperating with ICE, the police department would have notified ICE of Cabrera's arrest on June the 4th, and the sheriff might have complied with a subsequent ICE detainer to hold him for pickup upon release. Fox News reported on July 17, 2025, that the county had refused to honor just such a detainer request. County Sheriff Jose Quiroz told me on July 31st that there was no detainer in Cabrera's file on July 11th. These stories don't jibe. Instead of blaming Fox News for getting the story wrong, and me because I, quote, didn't care to look carefully at what had actually happened, Takis should himself come clean and say what happened to the ICE detainer on David Cabrera after his latest arrest. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Clement. The next speaker, please, Mr. Reed.
Thank you. Our next speaker, and again with a reminder of our one speaker per topic rule, is Mr. Ken Reed, followed by Mariah Mears, pardon me.
Yeah, I think this is a repeated topic, right? Then the next speaker, please, Ms. Myers. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
All right. So I'm representing Boston Virginia Square Civic Association to discuss broadly adaptive reuse plans for converting commercial buildings to residential, and the need to really think about more community benefits in dense areas, not just for adaptive reuse, but more broadly. The property at 4100 Fairfax Drive is the third such project in our area. Adaptive reuse is new for Arlington County, and our community is among the first to experience it. Resident concerns are generally low for this type of activity compared to some new rebuilds, and we recognize that there are many benefits. So Boston Virginia Square is a great place to live, but development, not just reuse, appears increasingly piecemeal. This approach for adaptive reuse also misses opportunities to address community needs in our dense area, the densest in the DMV and kind of in the East Coast, I understand, aside from maybe New York. Our civic association is gathering data for a more holistic look at community needs, and we plan to share that, the findings next year. Some initial concerns from residents, low per person, that's important, per person availability of active recreation green space. A deficit in small playgrounds and tot lots near high rises, no public community recreation center in the dense area, in the RB corridor, insufficient dog relief and waste disposal amenities, and we have among the lowest tree canopy areas in Arlington. For context, we have a 45-year-old Boston sector plan with an estimated 5,200 housing units by 2020. We're currently around 12,000. We have about a population of 16,000, and we're growing. And our request would be new planning should better consider density demands for public spaces and uses. The reuse community benefits may be insufficient for residential needs, and we urge the county to take a closer look and think creatively about additional amenities and benefits.
Thank you. The next, and as I see it, final speaker, Ms. Fisher. Good morning, Ms. Fisher. I know that you will tell me that nothing is good about this morning. Nevertheless, good morning.
Well, it's not a good morning, and it will not be a good morning until all of you are removed as board members. My name is Bobby Fisher. I'm the only Black woman who is speaking here. I am furious what happened to me just now. I'm the last speaker. I arrived here at 9:07. 9:07. And I'm so upset right now. But let me get to my point. Charlie Kirk, a young white man, was shot, murdered, and silenced for merely exercising his First Amendment right. I am here today as a Black woman. I feel as though Arlington County, a very racist county, has done the same to me. Diane Kress has assassinated my rights. 21 police officers, 21 police officers targeted me in the library. For what reason? No, for complaining about homeless people, illegal immigrants, sex offenders in the library? 21. Recently, I was physically attacked by an illegal young man with his fist to my face inside the library.
Ms. Fisher, can you?
I am outraged. I am not a criminal. Never have I been.
Thank you,
I
Ms. Fisher.
have a document here where a police officer forged my name.
Ms. Fisher, can you please conclude your testimony? It is.
You see this?
I do, and
A
you can
police
share it with us.
officer
And you can share
forged my name.
Ms. Fisher, thank you.
I have nothing else to say to you particularly.
Thank you,
Ms. Fisher.
That's weird.
So does this conclude the public comment?
Mr. Chair, I believe Mr. Reed's
Okay, Mr.
subject
Reed,
of comment may be a counterpoint to those offered.
from the title of what Mr. Reed told us that he wants to testify on, I conclude, maybe this is misstated here, that he wants to discuss divesting from businesses that do business in, I guess now, Israel. I cannot see
Is
that.
my understanding this may be a counterpoint to previously offered topics.
A counterpoint. So counterpoints are different opinions, right? So, okay.
Okay.
Then we can
thank you.
accommodate Mr. Reed.
Thank you. Then our
thank you.
next and final speaker will be Mr. Ken Reed. Again, with respect to our one speaker per topic rule, I appreciate it. Mr. Reed, you're on the line.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning, sir.
Thank you very much, Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak. It is Shabbat, and I usually don't do this kind of thing on Saturdays, but I am forming a DC area chapter of the national group called the Coalition for Jewish Values, which represents the consensus of 2,200 traditional Orthodox rabbis in public policy across the nation. Our website is cjvalues.org. But again, I felt compelled today to violate Shabbat because David Bernstein, your constituent who spoke earlier, alerted an anti-Semitism Facebook page about Arlington for Palestine coming before you to ask the county to divorce itself and monies from companies that do business in Israel. But I was a former county supervisor myself, and I worked with a number of your great predecessors who sat on this dais, like Libby Garvey and John Weistat, Katie Crystal, Mary Hines, Barbara Favola. I go back a long way, okay? So cities and towns in Virginia do not have the authority to do what these groups are talking about, as far as I know. And divestiture is an exaggerated response to the Israel situation, which is our historic homeland and sanctuary from anti-Semitism and violence condoned by countries where Jews live. We were the victims of real genocide. The world population of Jews is now only the same what it was before the Holocaust. The divestiture is moot that they're asking for because we are in a ceasefire. But how people can actually wear that keffiyeh scarf and support Hamas is beyond me. That scarf, if you didn't know, is a symbol of Islamic jihad against Jews. It's a hate symbol like the Confederate flag is to African Americans. And a boycott of Jewish businesses was the first thing that Nazis did against Jews when they rose to power. The question is whether the members of the Arlington board is really going to get involved with this issue at all. And I hope that you resist the demand to take a position
Sir,
at all. Sure.
Mr. Reed, can you please conclude? Your time is
Yes, I will conclude. I was asking you to get back to local issues, as Mary Hines, Jay Fassett, and the other people I worked with did. Keep up that great condition. Focus on those trees in Lyon Park, and I hope you don't hear from us again. But we will be back if we see any kind of Jew hatred or hostility toward Israel and Arlington.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Clerk, I think that this concludes now the public comment.
No further speakers.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I will provide some short response, hopefully short response. I will open that then to colleagues to comment on testimony that we've heard this morning. Again, thank you all for gathering today, coming to this meeting. Mr. Washington, on RPC, which stands for the residential, for the public to understand, it's the Residential Program Center. It's a building in Columbia Pike that has been a shelter for those who have different challenges.
He's now reacting to the testimony, which is interesting.
Sir, can you please
make sure your
mute your
microphones are
microphone?
muted.
Mr. Reed, can you please mute your microphone? Thank you. So, Mr. Washington, two things. I recognize that you may have been in contact with our office in the last few weeks. Can this be? August. If for some reason we haven't responded, I wasn't aware, I was made aware right now. We apologize for that. We will respond. Independently of that, I have myself scheduled a visit to RPC very, very soon in the next couple of weeks. So, and to be honest with you, I'm very familiar with the situation in RPC. And I've been talking with, and I believe my colleagues have been talking as well, with the operator of the RPC right now, which is Path Forward. Betsy France, among others, yes. So we will have an after conversation on this. In the meantime, I want to engage with you to know more and more in detail about what is going on and what is wrong, especially when it comes to the relationship between the residents of RPC and the personnel that is right now in RPC. We know some about the condition of the building and the need for improvement there.
Building is the last thing.
Yeah. In addition, we have our constituent services first responder by excellence, Ms. Stephanie Bello here. Please, if you can connect with her, she will connect with you so that we can continue this dialogue on this. We are really very interested to know and to calibrate how best to intervene to improve the conditions for the residents at the RPC. You can meet with Ms. Bello in room 311. This is when you exit here directly across.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Awood, on the one topic rule, we have discussed that before, and I said before that these are the rules that the board has adopted at the beginning of the year. I intervened at some point to the testimony of Ms. Maholikar explaining the why. I've done it several times in the past. I'm not going to repeat that right now. I accept your testimony at this point, but the rules that the board, the order of the session that the board has adopted at the beginning of the year is for this year the order of the session that the board has adopted. We will have a conversation about that in January. This board will discuss it again when it adopts its orders of meeting next year. This is still meant to alert the board, the county board, about things that are happening in the community. This is not a place for a town hall. There are other places for a town hall, and you know it yourself as well, that we accommodate in-person meetings. I've been holding several ones with a ton of opportunities to have repeated testimony and conversation on all possible topics without limitations. The same with Ms. Mahulikar on the issue of ethics. We have been discussing that also internally. I believe that the way we see ethics of conduct in Arlington County is not exactly where you want to go. You are talking about a political qualification of ethics. We are talking about, how the conduct has to be like honest, transparent, et cetera, et cetera. More of that. I don't know if the county manager wants to weigh in on that at all, because it was.
And we have an ethics policy, internal ethics policy The board adopted a policy in 1961. I'm sure you've all read it closely. And those policies talk about individual conduct when it comes to favoritism or impartiality in a provision of services and financial benefits. And if anybody has a concern about an individual's behavior in that respect, we do have a fraud, waste, and abuse hotline that people can take advantage of.
Okay. So the next, Mr. I probably didn't take a good note of his last name, Madar? Anyway, this gentleman who talked about ensuring that Arlington Police doesn't collaborate with ICE and the DHS agents, we have an approved policy here. Local law enforcement has nothing to do with federal tasks. We are not enforcing immigration. Our police department locally here is not enforcing immigration. Period. This is the exclusive domain of the federal government. Mr. Martin, sorry, I apologize for having misstated his last name. I would like to ask our acting attorney about enforcing identity. I mean the non-masking. I mean enforcing the rules that our police has. We cannot impose them, unfortunately, to federal agents. Is this correct?
That is correct.
Yes. Unfortunately, the many rules and safeguards for safe policing and community transparent and accountable policing that we have in Arlington County, like in many places in the United States, we have zero legal ability to impose them on federal agents who are working very often completely lawlessly in Arlington County. So this is why you see this discrepancy and difference in how federal law enforcement behaves, or most of the time absolutely misbehaves, and how our police behaves, that is under a policy that ensures fairness and accountability and lawfulness. Ms. Webster, you talk about moral responsibility and you pointed out the rising issues that come with the rise of AI here. I hear that with a lot of interest. I may not see that from your point of view, but I see it from many other points of view. And we probably will agree that there are many problems and there are many issues that not only politics, but policy will have to face at some point. As a society, I would doubt that we are ready for what the fast galloping and growing AI industry brings to us. This affects everything and not exclusively the topics that you have been bringing up here. So I'm actually open for a dialogue, an ongoing dialogue on that. I have had the opportunity to think a lot and begin to learn a lot about this as of lately, like we all. Mr. Bernstein, thank you for your testimony. I also recognize that it is Shabbat, and this is not always easy for people of the Jewish faith to attend a Saturday morning meeting here. The county board has been repeatedly stated that we are in the business of uniting our residents and not dividing our residents. That doesn't insulate us from the world and what is happening. There are conflicts all over the world that right now are affecting Arlingtonians in their private life, in the public life, in the business life, etc. What we want to make very clear is that we don't tolerate hate, we don't tolerate violence, we don't tolerate anything that disturbs the basic Arlington value that is coming together as a community and having civilized civic discussion about everything. The county board, of course, is not a place where foreign policy is made. This is outside our jurisdiction. This is something that advocates have to take with the bodies that really decide on U.S. Foreign policy. For here, we are not going to tolerate anti-Semitism ever. We are not going to tolerate a hostile positioning against Muslims or a hostile positioning against any religion, race, color of skin, etc. We are fiercely invested in the peaceful coexistence of all residents. And I think that in Arlington we have achieved that to a very good degree until now. So I ask everybody to continue in the civic dialogue about even difficult things. To Mr. Burstyn and later to Mr. Grutman, I have to say, I'm very well aware that anti-Semitism has knocked our door here in this region. I very well remember when Yaron Lisinski and Sarah Milgram were assassinated or killed in a perfect, peaceful moment out of nowhere. We know that these are the fruits and the consequences of hate. So we are against that, and we are not going to tolerate that, and are not going to we are going to do everything in our power to reduce the tensions. So the next one, Ms. Dobbs. Once again, thank you for your testimony. You are absolutely right. I agree with you. Housing discrimination has become a significant problem. We see it now better because we commissioned, we are now checking and testing fair housing rules and fair housing enforcement. You brought up some very good points. They are also corresponding with what we found in our testing, our most recent study that was released this summer. So we are in an active collaboration with our staff to find better ways to monitor and to enforce. I would like to highlight one detail. The detail is that when economic times become more difficult, when pressure is increasing, the consequences of actually happening discrimination are even deeper and even more consequential for the people who are suffering these. So I would agree with you that our responsibility as a local government to be more watchful on this field just increased quite a lot. Ms. Felker, thank you for your testimony today. I see you still there. As you know, this is an ongoing process right now. We are discussing in the low residential study work, we're discussing how to regulate and to actually increase pervious surface first, so the plantable area around the building. This is a more practical way to approach the issue of lot coverage and freeing up space for freeing up plantable space for many reasons. I don't know if the manager has some words of wisdom on this.
Well, first, I want to acknowledge in the board's unanimous vote to say that the Ashton Heights Civic Association is the best civic association in Arlington County. That would be clear.
Is that where the county manager lives?
Perhaps.
So for the record, this is where the county manager lives.
Right. So, as it's been made clear to me by the board, it's too early to know what any study we do might show. And as a matter of fact, we have our first full public engagement Monday evening. And I encourage everybody to come to that and what kind of input we're going to hear from the community or what the study might even end up showing. But one thing is a change in lot coverage limits by definition would not address what happens to the rest of the lot. And we've seen that when lot coverage changes were made earlier, that we have remaining spaces in lots that have been paved over and rendered unusable as pervious surfaces. And we spent a lot of time talking about that in work sessions. So that's where we're starting our conversation. I appreciate the petition and all the materials that have been received, and I really am going to encourage everybody to come out on Monday and get involved in the process and continue to make their points.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Mr. Gratman, I will refer to my statement before. We are fiercely opposed to any expression of anti-Semitism and all types of discrimination and hate against any religious group, and we are concerned to see these incidents happening here. I will warmly recommend to you, as to every Arlingtonian who experiences hostility and hate, to let us know, because we take note of that. Mr. Girk, you brought up the fact that DHO permits are again on. I will ask our acting attorney, why is this the case? I believe that this is the consequence of a ruling. So
yes, the Court of Appeals order vacated the circuit court's judgment. So it's not the circuit court's judgment is not in effect anymore.
That would be not at the discretion of the county board to stop that, right?
That's correct.
Right. So, Ms. Kassim, thank you for your testimony. I fully understand and respect the extreme weight that you personally is carrying right now, and the deep concern about what happens next. I happen to be from the same region that your origin is, and I know that the ceasefire is no peace. And I'm as worried as you about this. The question is, what is Arlington's role in this? And I think that Arlington's role is, at this point, to keep a community together that stands in solidarity with everybody who is suffering and keeps a community together in peace. Dr. Clement, I'm not going to return to the same topic. I told what I told. I believe that you understand what happened there. You said that Arlington was releasing some criminals. Arlington was not releasing anybody. The court has released a person, and federal agents were notified and were expecting this person at the door of the court. Period, end of story. This was a very regular legal proceeding. Federal law prevails, and that was it. You just misrepresented that because Fox News mispresented that, so I'm sorry that you were misled by Fox News. Ms. Myers, you bring up one of the hottest policy topics, I think, in the next few years. Just a few months ago, we wouldn't expect that adaptive reuse would be so successful as to begin to actually create these secondary and tertiary thoughts about what happens when we, bring back value to an asset that hasn't had any value until very recently. So it's a fair question to say, okay, we may not have additional density, but we have additional value. People will move in. They will need to live in a livable community. They need services. They have an impact, even if this impact isn't materializing as a bigger or better or higher building. So we are at the very beginning of studying that. I think that you're not the first, but you are among the first who is bringing that to our attention. So how we deal with this additional value, which is very welcome, because before it was zero and now it's something contributing. This is a conversation that will be ongoing and will be ongoing fast, because even today we have a new adaptive reuse building in Ballston that we are going to approve, as I understand that. And this is going faster than, thankfully faster than we expected just a few months ago. Finally, Ms. Fisher, I will thank you again for coming and testifying here. I have great reservation in connecting somehow the brutal assassination of Mr. Kirk with what you believe has been unjust treatment in the libraries. I really take distance from your comments on all of this, and I'm sorry that you feel this way. And finally, Mr. Reid, I refer to my previous statements on the topic that you touched, which was the anti-Semitism right now in Arlington. Colleagues, if you want to comment in anything particular, Mr. Spain, I see your light.
Oh, I'll come back.
It will come later, Ms. Cunningham.
Thank you. I'll just endeavor to be brief here. I wanted to hit on public safety and then some of the development questions that came up. So as I've said before, public safety is our number one and most fundamental role as a local government. It's complicated, and there is rampant hate speech, there is rampant anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, racism. It is resurging in our nation, in our world, and locally. And we as a community, all of us as a community, owe it to each other and to ourselves to call it out when we see it and to remedy it where we can. Our police force stands ready to respond if there are any experiences of that. We really ask you to report it so that we can begin to repair and to improve upon that. Likewise, on the ICE question that Dr. Clement has asked us several times, we do comply with the database, and ICE has access to that database. That's the end of our collaboration at the police level, but that is sufficient for ICE to do their job as they see it. In terms of identification, our understanding is we have not got that right locally to require identification. However, if you call 911, if you are concerned about someone's identity, if they are appearing to be law enforcement or acting in that way, our police will endeavor to respond and confirm identity. So again, our local police force is there for you to respond and to provide information as possible. And then finally, for protesters and supporting our First Amendment rights, today's No King's Day, number 2. I think you'll see lots of activities around, and I hope that we will all be welcoming to those varied voices. Stay safe. Again, call upon our local police if you have any concerns. But again, we are a community. We're going through hard times, and we need to look out for each other. On the development issues, just very briefly, on adaptive reuse, I appreciate Ms. Myers being here today. We do have on the consent agenda an adaptive reuse project that reflects our intent to move as swiftly as possible when there is not a lot of concern. However, we are at the beginning of this journey of adaptive reuse. So I believe on Tuesday, the manager will be talking us through kind of our initial learnings from our first set of projects and how we are approaching the community engagement. And we would invite all community members to continue to give us feedback on that, because we're new at this and we're trying to figure that out as well. I would also invite you in the public spaces master plan refresh to ensure that Ballston, Virginia Square and all the neighborhoods are sharing those concerns about park access, about pet access and tot lots, et cetera. On EHO, just want to highlight, as the acting attorney has said, we are reverted through the court's most recent action to where the law stood in 2023. Completely understand that we're not done, and I think we are all eager to be on the final, done and know what the courts have concluded. But until that time, with what the current ruling is, we would be breaking our law to not accept permits, and so that's the walk that we're trying to navigate. But again, totally understand we're still going to have some chaos while it goes back and forth. Then finally, on the lot coverage question, so I think, as you all know, I've been a strong advocate for looking at the trade-offs between environment, trees, stormwater in particular, and the flooding impacts that our climate change and our ongoing development pose. I do believe that this first step of looking at the low residential study, where we are considering the trade-offs between tree plantability, stormwater, while we're not looking at lot coverage right this minute, buildings are absolutely part of that impervious analysis. And so we may find that we can get there with just the impervious area kind of calculations, including buildings, or we may find that that is too blunt and we need to have both. And so this is a starting point, and I am thrilled that we are starting, that our staff, our interdepartmental team is really digging in on that, because I think we all know that what we have right now is not where we want to be, that we want trees to be protected, we want to have water, have a place to go, and we want to enable private property owners to continue to enjoy their property. So more to come on that, but please do engage on Monday. I know there have been 2 online engagements, but that'll be the first open house, and that's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, could I make one clarification on the EHO, or it was reversed and remanded, not vacated, remanded? Just wanted to correct that.
Yes.
Discretionary, you could not. We know you're an attorney.
So, the next, any other colleagues? No. So, then.
Yes.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Fain.
Yes.
I apologize, I didn't see your light time.
That's fine. So, and I'll try to be succinct on this one. First, thanks everyone for coming out this morning. I will tell you that I think coming into these beginning of county board meetings this is where it's at. I think this is an opportunity outside of Open Door Monday, which you get 2 or 3 minutes, an email, but this is where you come to get and engage with us. And so as we go into January, Mr. Chair, and we start having conversations about speaking and times and how many folks can speak, I really look forward to that when that happens. A few things I picked up on from everyone who talked here today. There's areas about policy reform, greater oversight, and then basically our ethical framework as a county, things we need to look at and consider. But to something my colleague, Ms. Susan Cunningham, just said, many of you know I came out of the civil rights space. So I stand firm on anything against hate and discrimination. And to be quite honest, there's an event going on today, but let's not fool ourselves that racism or hate and discrimination just started because of one administration, even here in Arlington. We can go back to 2021. Even here in this building, in the garage, there was a KKK symbol written. It made the news. We can go to some of our schools where our kids have been, there's been allegations and anti-Semitic rhetoric said to them, swastikas written on our public schools. This is not new. But what we have to do, right, and this is where ethical framework and policy, how it's shaped up, we need something to bind us. We need leadership to really look at this and not just say, well, we'll get past it. There needs to be also a level of accountability, right? Because if not, it's just going to continue. And so I am committed as one board member, just as I think the rest of my colleagues are, to ensure that Arlington is not a place for hate. You should know that, and that we're going to fight back against that. So to the ethics aspect that we've heard here today, I'll let it also be known where I'm at. We all receive, as county board members, input about our current ethics policy, which you heard from the county manager, dates back to the 1960s. And you also know of we have an administrative guideline or regulation that was written in 2008, all of 2 pages. And those are being revised and looked at right now. It's time. I think what was written in 1961 and perhaps what was done in 2008, it is time for a new review. And it's time to really think about if our ethical policy, how it's written, is it aligned to today? And how we are as a county. That also leads me to say, stay tuned. I think for next week, we'll have a conversation, I believe, Mr. Chair, on governance here in Arlington. There's a lot to be done. And lastly, housing discrimination. Now, this is the second board meeting we've had where we had individuals come here and talk about housing discrimination and testing we've done. So I'll tell you, I am looking forward to the work that we're going to do to root out housing discrimination in this county. because it's happening each and every day. And we're going to have, it's going to take the political will and the leadership for us here to put the resources in place to ensure that that's not happening here. It's a challenge, but we know it is occurring. And it's probably occurring in ways that one means test won't show all the data, but it's there. We hear it. And so I just want to share those thoughts with everyone based on what we've heard. Thank you for your time and attention, and look forward to getting to work. And to County Manager, I know you mentioned Ashton Heights, but you know I'm a Penrosian. Penrose is the best place to live. Sorry about that. You're welcome.
Yeah. That comes when you miss living in Columbia Heights. What can I say? Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may add, the 1961 ethics policy does suggest that we serve the entire community equally, although only if you're male. So we have a little bit to do.
And
Susan and I are free.
And this is why we're not talking loud about that, and we go everywhere and we hear the entire community, which is always actually a great pleasure to do that, and a very eye-opening interaction every single time with every single Arlingtonian. So with that, if there are no more comments today, we are going to move now on to our consent agenda. Mr. Kushner, have there been any items that have been pulled from this consent agenda?
Yes, there have been 2 items pulled. A moment. Those items are number 9, which is a use permit review for an open-air market at the John Robinson Jr. Town Square. Item number 20 has also been pulled, which is an award of contract to Nastos Construction Incorporated to provide construction services for the Bluemont Park tennis courts renovations. These items will be heard at the Tuesday meeting, starting no earlier than 6 o'clock. Registration for them should go live very shortly.
Thank you. Colleagues, the consent agenda, I move that the county board adopt the county manager's recommendations for items on the consent agenda, excluding the pulled items number 9 and number 20. Do I have a second?
Second.
It is seconded by Board Member Spain. Colleagues, I take a vote now. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anybody opposed or abstaining? None. The motion passes unanimously, and the consent agenda passes with it. So for general information, procedural information, we'll hold a public hearing on anything on the 2 items that have been pulled, 9 and 20, from this consent agenda. We will hold a hearing at the recess board meeting on Tuesday, October 21. The public hearing will begin no earlier than 6 p.m. If you want to speak to one or more items pulled from today's agenda, again, items 9 and 20, please, you can register on the county board's website starting today, or call our office at 703-228-3130 on Monday. The board just voted to approve the consent agenda, which includes minor site plan amendments, use permit requests, ordinance amendments, request to advertise, and more. These items were put on the consent agenda because they were thought to be non-controversial. But that does not mean that they are not important. So I will take a few minutes, hopefully a few minutes, to highlight several items very briefly. There are slides on each and every item. So item number 3, it's the adaptive reuse project at 4100 Fairfax Drive that was referenced already in our reactions to public testimony. It adds 296 residential units in the Balsam neighborhood. It reduces office vacancy by removing 250,000 square feet of underutilized or partially vacant office space, and that reduces the vacancy in the Ballston market by 2 percentage points. I have to point out that our Ballston office market is one of the hardest hit right now. It has the highest vacancy rates, so this is really good news. It keeps the current ground floor retail tenant, Bronson Beer Hall, which I'm sure will be welcomed by many of the good customers of this beer court. I think, by the way, they have an excellent a selection in German beers. So the next one is item 14. Oh, and by the way, I should say, this entire process of doing the office to residential conversion there took approximately 6 months. So that was literally warp speed in that case. But that was also technically an easy permit to negotiate and to issue. Item 14, these are updates to the Arlington tenant relocation guidelines. They set standards to provide administrative guidance for owners assisting tenants facing displacement from certain residential rental properties. These updates include additional information added to the tenant profile, such as household mix, schools located in the district, employment location for residents, and transportation needs. It increases county staff oversight of implementation of the point system that is used to prioritize tenants who choose to return to a property based on tenure, income, previous displacement, and special needs. That's especially true when a property is renovated or rebuilt. And finally, it increases payment amounts for displaced tenants to align with the highest payment schedule in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. So it brings that back to a more acceptable level. The next item, please, number 15, is the storm water utility credit program ordinance. We approved an update to the stormwater utility ordinance, which now includes in the credit program the common areas managed by homeowners associations. And, think of garden apartments, for example, they manage a lot of pervious areas, and they were not considered until now. So the change aligns with original intent of the voluntary credit program to recognize and encourage proactive stormwater management. The HOAs will now be eligible to receive voluntary stormwater credits for qualifying actions offered by the county in the next credit application cycle. And I know that this will satisfy a lot of our residents who live in such homeowners associations, and they were wondering last year what happened to their access to what every other Arlingtonian had access to. Next is item 17, the EMS fee waiver update. So we approved updates to income qualifications for the Arlington County Fire Department fee waiver. Previously, income qualifications associated with this fee waiver have not changed, and were set at $25,000 regardless of the household size. The updated waiver, linked to federal Section 8, the medium income determinations, allows the household size as a consideration. Income determinations will also update accordingly as the Department of Housing and Urban Development Section 8 determinations change. That means that a family that made more than $25,000, which is very often the case, now the size of this family will count, so that they are not going to be charged as being above the cutoff income level. So the next one, it's far fairer to do that this way. It's after school notice of funding availability, item 21. We approved $550,000 in awards to 3 recommended grant recipients through the county's after-school programming notice of funding availability process. And they are listed here. This is Aspire After School Learning, Edu Futuro, and Phoenix Bikes. We are particularly proud of this outcome, and we thank everybody who participated in the process. It's really critical to be able to offer these after-school programs to our students. is the beneficial impacts of that to the mental health, to school progress and educational outcomes here is immensely critical. And in a time where moderate and lower income families are suffering, specifically under the economy, under immigration crackdowns, under persecution from all sorts, being able to offer that is really a great achievement. I thank all my colleagues here who have collectively worked very hard to get this money together and to dedicate it to these causes. Next item. Item 22, CBDG bond. This is the block grant fund. It's actually, this is not, there's a typo, it's CDBG. It's the block grant. Funds for moderate income purchase assistance program, also fondly known as MyPAP. We approved the allocation of $475,000 in additional community development block grant funds. We will be able to serve up to 5 additional households for first-time home buyers with down payment assistance earning up to 80% of the area median income AMI. And God knows how difficult it is to achieve for 80% area median income households to achieve an access to home ownership. So this might not seem like many, 5 additional households, but it's financially an incredibly heavy lift. We wish we could do more, and I believe that we'll continue talking. This is October, it's Housing Month. We'll continue talking about a pathway to homeownership for those who are not rich, for those who are moderate and lower income. It is a record high number of loans in the first 3 months of the fiscal year that this allocation is serving. The next one, please. Item 23 is a grant agreement for FHA funds. We accepted and approved a grant agreement between the board and DPRT for use of the Federal Highway Administration funds for Arlington County commuter services. This totals $1.2 million, and it will be used to provide educational, promotional, and other transit demand management related assistance. This is what TDM stands for. It will fund Arlington's efforts to promote and improve non-single occupancy vehicle options, such as obviously transit, biking, walking, and carpooling, all of which reduces the stress, makes people happier, and actually is a better mobility for everybody and strengthens our economy in general and our quality of life. Next, item 24. Grant agreements between the board and the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation for use of Commonwealth Transportation Funds, $38 million that we receive to support local projects such as bus stop improvements, some battery electric bus replacements, and the Crystal City East Entrance project that is currently in construction over the next 6 years. It's individual capital projects that will be supported by this grant funding are, of course, subject to the county's public engagement process. So residents in all places where we will see investment will have a say as to how this investment will be configured. Next. Item 27, and I believe the last one, this is the DMV grant funding. We approved the acceptance of $74,000 in grant funds from the fiscal year 2026 Virginia Highway Safety Program for traffic enforcement programs. So alcohol is about $26,000, pedestrian and bicycle and police traffic services, all this adds to $74,000 that we just accepted, and we are going to put them in very good use. Thank you. That is the last slide, I believe. Okay. Before I, yes.
Are we going to comments on it?
Oh, yes.
If anybody wanted to.
I was about to say, before I move on, I would accept any comments to the consent agenda items.
So I just wanted to lift up again item 21, which is the after-school NOFA, and just recognize the fact that there's been a number of conversations over the past year or so about additional funding, what can we do in our community, especially for our youth. And again, I don't want to kind of repeat what you said, but outside of the three organizations that are listed, I just want folks to know that we as a board, at least I recognize that there are a lot of voices that went into this approval and this consideration, and that all of that is important. So again, I just, whether it's, name an organization, I probably shouldn't be naming any, but we just received a lot of input, and I'm very grateful of the energy and the people who really want to go here and take care of our youth with some programming, robust programming around all of Arlington. So, and then secondly, you've already talked about item 22, which is the MyPAC and some additional funds. Kudos there. You can never have enough money there for people to get home ownership, especially as things are today. And I think a lot of this is in large part, thank you to our the home ownership work group that went on for about a year or so and made some strong recommendations. So just my two comments on item 21 and 22. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Spain. Any other? Mr. DeFerranti.
Just very briefly, appreciate lifting up item 21. I will say that the fiscal environment that we're in, the key words in that slide for me were over the next 2 years. I don't foresee that we would have, just how challenging we are, just don't foresee that we would have additional one-time or ongoing money to do anything except that in the next 2 years, which I know is perhaps a disappointment to some of our advocates with whom I've been grateful to work, but I just can't foresee that we would have anything more. So in the next 2 years, that doesn't mean that we won't be hoping, I won't be hoping, and I know other colleagues may be hoping to after those 2 years, make this a sustained effort. But did want to thank you and the manager and Ms. Cowan and everyone who worked on this for this piece, but also add that note of caution. Thanks.
Thank you, Vice Chair DeFerranti. Ms. Coffey.
I'll just add on the tenant relocation guideline update, a particular shout out to David Tim, the former chair of the Tenant Landlord Commission. He stepped in to be chair thinking it would only be for a year, and it's been many years now, and he's rolled off as chair, which we're very grateful for. But taking a look at this and modernizing the tenant relocation guidelines really came from his service on the Tenant Landlord Commission, and they created a subgroup that worked on this, and it's been, I think it's going to be really impactful. We know that as Arlington continues to develop, most of what we do is actually redevelopment now, and that often means that people are living in the places where we might want to be building. And so having guidelines that really keep people locally as much as humanly possible and give them the right to come back when the property is completed is super critically important. And so I'm very grateful to the Tenant Landlord Commission for taking that on. I think it's going to be an impactful change and update, and I'm glad for the staff that worked with them on that as well.
Thank you, Ms. Coffey. Ms. Cunningham.
I just wanted to make one data clarification on the slides. You said it verbally, but the office occupancy rate for Ballston were the numbers that were on that slide, and that has been measurably moved by this. The overall occupancy, office occupancy, has not gotten worse, because you could conclude that. So just didn't want anyone writing about this later to get confused. I want to highlight some of the transportation. There were a lot of them in this consent agenda, both kind of the regular contracts, which we don't usually spend a lot of time talking about, but we do look at carefully, as well as accepting state grant funding that funds a lot of our Vision Zero work. In particular, I want to raise up our Columbia Pike residents and businesses who are nearing the end of one of our larger transportation projects, and invite folks to come and celebrate a beautiful fall day at Pike Fest this afternoon, 12 to 5. And then finally, a thank you to our deputy manager who's with us today for all his work on the Falls Church EMS and fire contract. We have kind of an unusual arrangement arrangement where we leverage Falls Church's property and capital and then our larger operational values to make sure that we're serving both communities well, and that's gotten updated, as well as our ambulance fees and waivers, which there is a supplemental report on as of yesterday to give just a little bit more detail about how often those fees are not paid by insurance. They typically are paid by Medicaid or by insurance, with very few exceptions, and then this is updating the waivers so that if you are in a challenging situation, we can make sure that that is not a challenge for you. So that's it. Oh, one other thing. I'm not sure if you highlighted it because I stepped out, but voting is underway and early voting starts to expand on Tuesday. So make sure that you get your voice to count. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Indeed, voting is underway. If you haven't voted yet, you can just exit the door and go through. Next week. So, yeah, I forgot that it's Saturday. Still one of these. And indeed, I mean, in terms of how much office space has been converted now in the last few decisions that we took, commercial residential, it's almost a million square feet, 900,000 square feet, which is quite impressively, so quite a lot. Also, just for the record, on item 21. There is absolutely no question that there is a vast community that has been advocating for these programs for a very long time. They've been really the soul of the advocacy for that. But the adjudication was a fair, blind, spec and scored process based on a notice of funding availability. So, and with this, I want to move now to our regular hearing items, but before I do that, I want just to say again, there are resources for federal workers, and there are several upcoming events. We have, and now we have also shutdown resources. We'll talk about these a little bit more in detail at our Tuesday meeting. I just want to make sure that the public knows about that. They are very easily accessible through our website. If you put federal employee or so in the search prompt, all resources will pop up. Now, Mr. Kushner, can we call our first and only regular item?
Yes, the first and only regular hearing item today is item number 34, which is a request to advertise a public hearing on an ordinance to amend, reenact, and recodify Chapter 14.3, which is the immobilization, removal, towing, and storage of vehicles from private property of the Arlington County Code.
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With me this morning is Aaron Miller, who will have a verbal presentation for you on the issues brought up in the particular item. Over to you, Dr. Miller.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. As mentioned, this is a request for the board to authorize advertisement of a public hearing for amendments to the Arlington County Code, Chapter 14.3, related to the trespass towing fee and placard requirements for tow trucks. We're bringing this before you as a request to advertise because of changes in the state code, as well as a meeting of Arlington County's Trespass Towing Advisory Board. Following the 2024 legislative session, the State Corporation Commission conducted a study of towing rates across the Commonwealth. The results of that study were then promulgated for consideration across jurisdictions in the Commonwealth pursuant to Code of Virginia 46.2-1233. The Trespass Towing Advisory Board is charged with reviewing provisions of the ordinance and making recommendations to the county board on the trespass towing fee and other matters related to trespass towing. The Trespass Towing Advisory Board met in August of this year, and from that provided 3 recommendations to the board on changes to Chapter 14.3. Those three recommendations were, one, an increase in the initial hookup and towing fee to be in line with the state maximum allowable under the Code of Virginia. The second was amending the code to require that towers provide towing contracts with private property owners upon request, as opposed to the current requirement of providing contracts to obtain or renew their locality permits. And the third recommendation from the Trespass Towing Advisory Board was to allow the Trespass Towing Advisory Board to review appeals of denials, suspensions, or revocations of locality permits and make recommendations as a county board prior to the board holding a hearing pursuant to the Code 14.3-13. Staff has reviewed these recommendations from the Trespass Towing Advisory Board and is recommending, one, that the county board do authorize the advertisement of a change in fees to 14.3. We have authored the request to advertise. In that, we have set the advertisement to read the maximum allowable under state code. Now, the reason we do that is because that allows consideration of any rate up to, excuse me, that maximum. What staff is recommending is that as we go through the request to advertise and public comment period, that information help to determine what a final recommendation be. So I want to make it clear, it's not that staff is recommending it be the maximum, but in consultation with the county attorney and in accordance with our processes for requests to advertise, we are advertising the maximum rate that is allowable. And then, of course, through public comment and any additional analysis that the board may want or any feedback that you would like staff or additional work to conduct, we're happy to do that as we carry on through this request to advertise process, the resulting public comment period up to final adoption. So that's the first one. On the other two recommendations made by the Trespass Towing Advisory Board, one, you will see that they are not included in the request to advertise. That is because staff recommends not including changes to the requirement that towers provide their towing contracts prior to receiving or renewing a locality permit. All of the towing operators provided their contracts prior to receiving a locality permit this year without any issues. And staff feels that providing those contracts prior to renewing or obtaining a locality permit is one of the key requirements to establish a necessary reason for the locality permit, i.e. that they conduct valid business within Arlington County. And then finally, in consultation with the county attorney, we are recommending not to include changes to the appeal process, which allows the Trespass Towing Advisory Board to make recommendations on any appeal of denial or suspension or revocation. That is because the Code of Virginia 46.2, 1233.2 authorizes the Trespass Towing Advisory Board to advise the county board with regard to the appropriate provisions of the ordinance. It does not allow for the Trespass Towing Advisory Board to advise on the appeals, only to advise on the provisions of the local ordinance related to trespass towing, if that makes sense. Happy to answer any additional questions for you or explain anything further.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Mr. Kushner, do we have any advisory bodies to testify here?
We do not.
But do we have any public speakers?
We do have one public speaker.
Okay, then please call the public speakers.
Our first speaker with us today on the line is Mr. Matt Cheest.
Mr. Cheest, can you, and I hope I pronounce your last name correctly, can you hear us?
I'm not seeing him here. He
It
was on the
says in
line
person, but
previously. He was with
I
us
hear you
virtually.
saying,
He was with us virtually on the line earlier, and is not here with us now, unfortunately. If you would like, we can attempt to get in contact with him while you're
so
deliberating.
then I will, I believe that we have to start the discussion with the board on the item, and if Mr. Chist joins at some point in reasonable time, we can accommodate his testimony. Thank you. Colleagues, the conversation, the discussion is now with the board. I will pass that to Vice Chair DeFerranti.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I move that the county board authorize advertising a public hearing by the county board on December 13th, 2025 on proposed amendments to the county's trespass towing ordinance, Chapter 14.3 of the Arlington County Code, to amend the hookup and initial towing fee and add placard requirement for tow trucks as set forth in Attachment A to the board report dated October 15th, 2025. I further move that the county board direct the county manager to further study the fair market value of the initial hookup and towing fee and report back to the county board the results of such study on or before December 13th, 2025.
Second. And it's seconded by Board Member Spain. So, Mr. DeFranco, do you want to speak to your motion?
Yes, I do. I really appreciate, Dr. Miller, your presentation and your working through on this. I have been trying to serve and serving as liaison on this issue, and I think getting to the heart of the three recommendations, specifically, it's very important, your point on request to advertise and the process for the fee. We want this to be based in analysis and study. State law requires periodic review and timely adjustment of the fee. The study has to be grounded before we take steps here. So that is what I'm looking forward to with respect to that piece. I also support the placard piece. Just for a little context, the timing you mentioned, the standard for the request to advertise, the timing of this action is appropriate to be after July 1st. And I want to be grounded enough in some study, further study and analysis before we consider taking any final steps. So there's obviously much discussion in our community of this issue. It's an important one. We should be informed by your and staff's expertise on it. And that's why I make the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeFerranti. Ms. Coffey.
Yeah, thank you. I know that the TTAB meeting conversation around the rates really focused on the State Corporation Commission study. And I think, at least in my review, the model that the State Corporation Commission looked at, which, it's a Commonwealth-wide approach, really reflected a very different business model than what one would see in Arlington County, with longer distance tows that take up to an hour and 50 miles. And I think that for me, seeing something that is Arlington specific on what is the market in Arlington County is going to be most important to me before I undertake any consideration of what the appropriate fair market value is. And so, that's what I will be looking for, is the additional study that is specific to Arlington County. I think I will await more information is where I'm at.
Thank you, Ms. Coffey. Mr. Spain?
I'll keep it brief, but as we know, this is, we have to do this because it's state law, right? It requires us to have some level of periodic review. And as my colleagues have already stated, I think this detailed analysis that we're going to undertake here will better inform us as we get to the point to having to make a decision. So appreciate everyone involved up to this point. I would encourage any stakeholder involved in this process to really engage with the board and let their voices be heard. But that's why we have analysis, and that's why we'll look at some data and make a recommendation down the road. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spain. Ms. Cunningham.
I'd just like to lift up both of my colleagues' comments. I do think it's crucial that we do locally based analysis, because while we love the Commonwealth of Virginia, we are a little different than the average bear. And I also want to just lift up that in many decisions and discussions we'll have in the next couple of months, we are going to be working pretty hard to balance the needs of a community of residents and property owners who have unusual economic stresses as well as our businesses who have unusual economic stresses. So I think for us up here on the dais and our staff team to bring the analysis so that we can have a detailed community conversation will be really helpful.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Everything has been said, but not
Mr. Chair,
everybody. Yes.
please pardon the interruption. I do believe we have Mr. Chiste on the line with us now.
Just on time. Okay. Mr. Chiste.
Hi, everyone. I apologize for dropping from the call. I thought the comment period was over at the beginning. So thank you all for for your service and for the opportunity to speak today. I just had 3 quick points on this request to advertise. First, I think when soliciting feedback about towing, I think Arlington can do better. The Trespass Towing Advisory Board website itself doesn't show any of the meeting minutes from August meeting. Its latest update that's listed on that webpage is from a meeting in 2021. There's no easy email sign up for residents to be kept in the loop. So when you talk about advertisements, like how are you going to reach out to people if you don't reach out on that email thread? The second point is, I'd encourage to make that study be publicly available. That justifies that rate increase. Because the study that I saw mentioned that the financial numbers were based on 130 tows a month, but the data that I have from up to 10 years ago was that they were doing, advanced towing, for example, was doing at least 7 to 10 times that amount of volume. And then finally, I think the board is probably well aware of this, but I think the public should be aware of it too. But there is one particularly bad apple in the Arlington tow industry, and they don't follow Arlington County code in the first place. I mean, just last year, for example, Advanced Towing was told to stop using the public alley next to their property. They removed the fence, and if you go by there today, you'll find that they're still using that public alley, and they have a chain across the alley. So you also are probably aware of that as of just yesterday, they were found guilty for overcharging customers, despite the fact that the Arlington County Code says that the maximum value of the tow is, I believe it's $135, and they just decided arbitrarily that they weren't going to follow the code. So when you do consider legislation, consider the fact that there are some bad apples that are going to need a little more stick than carrot to behave. That's all I have. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Chiste. So I was about to say a couple of things. First of all, Mr. Chiste, thank you for pointing out the lack of easy access to the outreach part, the website, etc. We take note, and we will be able to.
I made staff aware of that a month or so ago, and so I think we are working to update.
We are our prior towing coordinator that we had hired left due to some family matters. Our new Trespass Towing Advisory Board staff coordinator and towing coordinator started on Monday. So we are getting all that in order.
In any case, Dr. Miller, the study, etc. This is a public document. It will be completely transparently available in all the details.
Yes, and staff is going to work on a number of feedback mechanisms to consider the interests not only of private property owners, but also towing operators and vehicle owners, to include outreach to constituencies like the Chamber of Commerce, to our neighborhood advisory groups, and a feedback form. We've already sort of begun thinking about how to gather this feedback.
Thank you. And just as a last, I understand that Virginia law describes pretty well what we have to study here, what fair market value of the services is, and how we have to do that, and how we have to deliver that. So this is what we're doing. Mr. Chiste, I made a note of the really disturbing fact that that some practitioners out there think it's a good idea to overcharge people with disregard to the legal limits. So,
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I just wanted to add one tiny thing, which is it. the three recommendations, we didn't take up the appeal adjudication by the TTAB. I attended almost all the TTAB board meetings last year. I did not attend the August meeting. That does not mean that we did not consider and fully pay attention. It just may be sometimes that we consider, like the appeals recommendation, we consider it fully, but we don't end up in agreement on that specific issue. And so I want people to know that I'm doing my job and we are doing our job. It's just that sometimes we may come to a slightly different conclusion on an individual piece of it. And that's why we want to be rooted in the data, and I particularly appreciate the more nuanced and better comments on the locally based study that colleagues have mentioned. Thanks.
Yeah, rooted in the data being the critical phrase here. Colleagues, if Ms. McCunningham will...
It's just one follow-on. The question of the website being 4 years out of date troubles me. So two things. One, can we commit to a date whereby that will be addressed for TTAB? And then secondly is really a question to the manager, and I think our clerk or chair, which is, can we audit across all of our commissions to make sure that we are up to date? Because that to me is just pretty fundamental transparency. I know we make mistakes once in a while, but let's learn from them quickly and address it.
To be clear, the website does include the 2024 meetings, recordings, and agendas. It does not have this 2025 meeting yet updated. There's some text at the top of the webpage. It is, well, the easiest way I can say this, it's messy the way that the website formatted it, and it has the 2021 YouTube recording at the top. So we just need to flip it to the bottom.
You're getting picked on, but it's not unique to TTAB that our website sometimes is not as modernized and fabulous as...
Yes, I think that's a fair point, and we try to work closely with all of the coordinators that we have on staff and also with the members of the commissions to make sure we're getting real-time input, and we will have to do a better job.
Okay, great. And if anyone in the community notices things like that, our clerk would love to know them, and we will work to address them. Thank you.
Okay. So, colleagues, if there is no objection, I would like to call for a vote on the item. All in favor of the motion of Vice Chair DeFranti, seconded by Mr. Spain, if I'm not mistaken, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstaining? None. The motion carries unanimously. Mr. Kushner, I understand that this was the last item that is coming today before the board.
That is correct. There are no further items.
Is there anything else?
There are no further items.
No. Then with that, we are recessed until Tuesday, October 21, if I'm not mistaken, at 1:30 p.m. Thank you very much, everybody. Please stay safe out there, vote, and exercise your political and civic rights to the fullest extent with safety and responsibility. And by the way, if something's wrong with the website, I was told last time that I asked Ava, and it's getting fixed, right? I get the right answer, right? Right. I will do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We gavelled.
Yeah, I don't think doesn't matter. Go ahead.
You did.
I did.
I heard it. I felt it.
I kept talking after.